But Travers says they had no involvement with the theft and disposal of the statue. In fact, she says her son was in jail at the time of the theft for stealing copper.
My son did steal copper from Leighton Power, but he had nothing to do with the statue.
The fact that I could just ride my bike into that hole tells me that it wasn't properly secured.
I order a lot of skip the dishes, so they're going to be missing me.
You are listening to Keep Canada Weird.
Handsome Aaron Airport. We're back for episode 191 of Keep Canada Weird, our weekly Canadian weird news roundup series. We've been at this for years, but I dare say tonight is the best night in our 191 episode history. How are you doing?
I'm well. Oh, God, thanks for asking. I was worried you weren't going to.
That I was going to ignore your feelings? I never could, because it's a part of making this show happen is just making you feel welcome and making you feel a part of this, let you know your contributions are valuable. So yes, we love you, Handsome Aaron Airport.
Oh, thank you. I love you too.
Let's get into it here. I don't want to talk about feelings or values. I want to talk about special drinks to start this. I'm excited for mine. We've talked about Cove Soda before. They're a Nova Scotia-based company. I didn't realize they just had a straight-up classic cola brand, Cove Soda.
Oh.
So this is like the most boring flavor of Cove Soda. And I'm going to sip this throughout tonight's show, and I'm excited about it. You got anything special there?
I do, and I didn't know they had a straight-up cola flavor as well. I only see, all the various varieties that they have.
Yeah.
But that's great to know that they have a classic cola flavor. And I don't ever see that at my grocery store where I get my Cove sodas at. So maybe next time I'm in Halifax, you'll treat me to one. Yeah.
I'll take you out for a Cove Soda, sure.
Oh, yeah, well,
what do you got there?
I got what is turning into a KCW classic. I've got a candy can, which you've had numerous times. I've had numerous times. This is a flavor I haven't tried yet, and it's called Rocket Ice Lolly.
Okay. Yeah, I've had it. I love it. It's those frozen popsicles that are like blue, white, and red. And so that pop tastes like if you melted one and then carbonated it. It's really good. Mm-hmm. Crack it open. I want to see you enjoy it.
Oh, there we go. Yeah. Very
It's
good.
a lot of fun to drink something like that. We got a big show ahead of us. We don't have a lot of time to spend on enjoying special drinks. What we're going to do here tonight, of course, is unpack the unique and offbeat stories that played out across this great nation over the past week. But we also got to front load it a little bit because in our prior episode 190, we called out to listeners for two separate reasons. Reason number one was you suggested listeners contacting us if they had stories that relate to holes in one way or another. I said, don't do it unless you got a really good one. Turns out listeners do have really good stories that in one way or another connect to digging holes or the presence of holes. We'll save that for the end of the episode. But another thing we called out for was ideas for our Christmas special, which we need to start working on. So I want to open the show with a voicemail from a listener named Danny. Danny has an idea for a Christmas special and her own personal story, I guess, to illustrate why this would be a great theme to choose. Here's what Danny has to say.
I think a good one would be failed Santa attempts. When I was a kid, our whole family was together and we were at my uncle's place and there must have been at least like 12 cousins and we were all young. And all of a sudden the parents just stopped and said, "Oh, do you hear that? We heard Christmas bells and, we thought it was Santa coming." So of course we all ran to the sliding glass patio doors to see Santa walk across the snow holding his bag over his shoulder, and he's giving a wave to all of us kids. And we were so excited, and it was a big bi-level yard. There was a lot of landscaping and a big rock wall with stairs all the way down. So he passed through and waved at us through the patio glass doors, and then it looked like he was coming down the stairs to meet us at the door downstairs to hand out presents. So we all ran downstairs and we excitedly opened the doors, and Santa was nowhere to be found. And it was very odd. So I guess our parents played it off as, oh, he was just coming by to keep an eye on all of you kids, make sure that you're on the good list and not the naughty list. But what actually happened is that the Santa was my uncle. And this was not due to too many eggnogs or rum and cokes or Christmas cheer. He's just perpetually clumsy, and he slipped and he fell all the way down the stairs and the rock wall and was hurt so bad that he hid himself in a bush until somebody could come out and help him. So he did not have to go to the hospital or anything. And the parents all did a very good job of covering up. But in later years, we all started asking questions about that night. And yeah, so that's what happened. So another failed Santa attempt. But I think it would be a great theme. Keep Canada weird.
I love Danny's story. I wouldn't call them failed Santa attempts, though. I'd be interested to hear Santa screw-ups is what I would call them.
I'm really shocked that Santa Claus is her uncle. That's wild. Having a famous relative like that, it must be, well, difficult at Christmas, the fact that he even had time to come by to visit, because, I mean, Christmas is his busiest time of year, but so I could see why he was probably maybe distracted and he tripped because he's so busy and he was trying to do a nice thing and trying to visit his family so close to the holidays.
He tried to make some time for them, but I don't know if her uncle is the Santa Claus or if he's one of Santa's many helpers that help bring the magic to the children all around the world. But whatever it is, it was certainly a Santa screw-up. And I bet you there are a lot of other Santa screw-ups. The Santas who help out at the mall, events like this where people are trying to help Santa. The actual Santa does not screw up. So I think if we did a special, a Keep Canada Weird Christmas special, covering just stories of Santa screw-ups, I think we would be hearing about his helpers making mistakes. Just to be clear.
Right. Yeah, I don't know if I believe the helper theory.
Oh.
He is busy and he does have to be in a lot of places at once. And magically speaking, that can throw off your equilibrium.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that Santa Claus just might have had a short case of vertigo. Just probably because he switched from time zones so quickly.
Maybe it would be disingenuous then to take the route of doing Santa screw-ups, because I don't think this guy makes a mistake, but he does maybe have some off moments. And I think a special called like Santa's Off Moments, yeah, maybe that's not fair. When you get it right 99.9% of the time. Is that what you're saying?
That's what I'm saying, yeah. So, let's not be too hard on him, but certainly the stories could be shared in a thematic episode.
Okay. All right. I like it. Well, we'll go back to the drawing board with our Keep Canada Weird Christmas special idea call out. Danny, I enjoyed your story. I'm glad your uncle's okay, and glad you all have a fun Christmas story to tell and understand better as you got older and more mature. But let's move on to some much more Keep Canada Weird related topics. We got a lot tonight. I want to start with dumb Canadian crime. We have one of the larger, most complicated stories we need to unpack. It's going to take us to Newfoundland, and you know it's going to be good when we go to Newfoundland for it. And it's going to be one of our two-part kind of tellings. Since it's such a big one and we got a lot of meat to chew on this one, let's take our first break now. And when we get back, we're going to get into dumb Canadian crime, starting with one of the most mysterious mysteries in Newfoundland's storied history. And it all surrounds Amelia Earhart. After this break. Handsome Aaron Airport, we got to go to Newfoundland, and you know that means it's about to get weird. In April of this year, just 8 months ago, Harbour Grace was hit by back-to-back thefts related to Amelia Earhart monuments. First, a bronze plaque was stolen, and then a much more significant crime. A much more significant crime. The statue, made out of brass and copper, of the famed aviator was stolen. Let's go back in time and first hear about the theft of the Amelia Earhart statue.
Just like the famous aviatress that it honors, the bronze statue of Amelia Earhart here in Harbor Grace has disappeared without a trace. For years, it's been on display at the Spirit of Harbor Grace Park, in the shadow of this vintage airplane, a bronze statue sculpted over a period of many months by Lubin Boykov of Amelia Earhart, the first woman pilot to fly solo across the Atlantic Ocean, positioned so she's looking towards the airfield from which her plane lifted off on May 20th, 1932. This park is a tribute to the town's storied aviation history, and the statue was a centerpiece. But daylight revealed this dreadful scene. The statue, weighing hundreds of kilograms, ripped from its foundation during the early hours. This is footage from a nearby surveillance camera. It shows activity for several hours around the statue. Concealed by darkness, a vehicle reverses into the park just before 3 a.m. The statue is loaded aboard, and the vehicle departs on Jamie's Way, a task requiring many hands. The RCMP is investigating. The town is offering a reward for any information that leads to the statue's return. The big fear is that whoever stole this statue will melt it down and sell the copper as scrap metal, fetching a paltry amount of money for a piece of art that's priceless to this town.
Okay, so I think so far it's all shaping up pretty obvious what's happening here. There was a nice statue in the center of this park. It was made of, they refer to it as a bronze statue, but it was actually 98% copper. So it's basically a copper statue. But copper is one of those scrap metals that people love to get their hands on and melt it or whatever and sell it. But anyway, the statue stood there. Someone in the middle of the night backed their car up, got the statue down, probably cut it into pieces, and drove off with it. The community was upset, and they were offering a reward. The eventual reward that they came up with for information leading to the return of the Amelia Earhart statue was $25,000, which is quite a bit of money, but the statue itself would have been worth a bit of money as well. I did some of the math on what the scrap copper would have been worth for the statue alone, and it'd be just under $5,000 Canadian.
It's still a very bold crime to commit for what I would consider to be that much payoff, like that little payoff. $5,000 is a lot of money. I would love $5,000 right now. But when you look at the risk that is involved, because this is a time-consuming effort to break this down into pieces and then get it loaded onto the truck. Yeah, it's probably noisy if there's some kind of tools being used. And so it's not like you're just in and out super quick. It's fairly complicated. It requires a truck as well and several people.
Yeah, well, here's the thing, just to interrupt you for 1 sec here. This in that news clip, we heard that the security cameras saw a vehicle and people milling about at the statue for several hours. So it took them a couple hours, and they didn't have a truck. They had a car. So they must have spent a couple hours at the statue cutting it into small enough pieces to put it in a car, because it's like a life-size, if not a larger than life statue. But anyway, go ahead with your point.
So I find the risk in this certain crime is not worth the reward.
Yeah,
because
I agree.
then you gotta then you've got to take the thing, you got to melt it down, and then do whatever process it is you do to eventually get your around $5,000 worth of copper out of it, and then sell it, and then plus you're targeting a very emotionally high value item, something that is going to have a lot of eyes on it once it goes missing.
Yeah,
and
that's true.
That's going to draw attention to it and then lead to complications in trying to sell it after the fact. So
I was trying to think of like what would lead them to do this and to take this risk. And I did say in the setup here that this is the second theft related to Amelia Earhart in a short period of time. Prior to this, like there was a plaque there, like like a big rectangle thing on a rock or whatever that just had her name and a bit of history on her, and it was made out of the same material, like basically copper. Weeks before the statue was stolen, somebody stole that plaque. So I think it's probably the same people. Got the plaque, that worked out, and they're like, we got to go back and get more. Let's get the whole statue. That's what I'm thinking they went and have done. But let's catch up to present day and why this is being talked about. Because, of course, this happened back in April. 8 months ago is when the statue was taken. A $25,000 reward was offered. It turns out that the statue was actually found in August, but there wasn't a big to-do made about it. Somebody found it. They tried to claim the reward, but they ran into some trouble, and it seems like they're now going public. They went on the news to basically complain that they found the statue and the city wouldn't give them the $25,000 reward. And this is one of the more fascinating news pieces I think I've ever heard. It's very Newfoundland. Let's hear about the recovery of the Amelia Earhart statue and all the complications that surround it.
She says she innocently discovered the stolen Amelia Earhart statue in this brush 4 months ago and believed the big reward on offer would turn her life around. But now Elaine Travers says she's being made to feel like a criminal.
I'm hoping that I could get the money so I can better myself right now.
On August 1st, Travers pulled into this forest access road off Route 74, about halfway between Victoria and Heart's Content. She says her dog needed a bathroom break, but a quick pit stop turned into a discovery that has transformed her quiet life into a stressful nightmare.
So I pulled in this road for her, and she wouldn't come back. And she kept barking and barking and barking.
When Travers approached her agitated dog, she noticed something unusual in the brush. It was this, the Amelia Earhart statue, cut into pieces. The theft was big news, which likely prevented the culprits from following through with their plan, and the statue was simply discarded. The town and its partners offered a $25,000 reward for information that would help find those responsible and the return of this prized work of art.
I just want to stop it for 1 second here because we're at like a really interesting part in the article that we're going to listen to. So right now they explain all the background. Let's just talk a little bit about how she's ending up here because I find her story very questionable. So in August, she's driving, pulls in some kind of like dirt logging road to let her dog use the bathroom, and she doesn't find the statue. It seems like her dog does. The dog runs off into the woods and won't come back and is barking, almost like something between, like Lassie, like kind of a hero dog, and I don't know, a dog that should work at a scrapyard and understand the values of metals. Because I don't understand what would make the dog be like, Mom, come here. There's a statue cut up way in the woods here.
It's the statue everyone's been looking for. Yeah, that's the part that really catches my ear as well about her story. Mm-hmm. The dog would have no earthly business caring about this statue. There's many other things to sniff and smell and be interested in those woods, but that statue is not going to be one of them. Now, maybe there's some dog experts out there that could correct us on that. Maybe dogs have a special interest in copper. We don't know. But from what I know about animals in general, they, other than like enjoying maybe peeing on a statue, that's pretty much it. They're not going to sniff one out like they're cadaver dogs and are only trained to find cut up copper statues.
Yeah. And when dogs that like to smell and pee on statues, it's because other dogs have done that. And this specific statue has probably been laying in the woods there for like 4 months or so. So any dog urine that would have been on it should long be weathered away. So there should be no reason for the dog, unless it's interested in the smell of copper or bronze, there should be no reason he's there. He or she, I don't know the dog. But and even aside from that, I also think it's weird that she even pulled over and let her dog run into the woods to pee. Like I've only been a dog owner of my Angel Penny for the last, I guess it's been 4 or 5 months. But let's say if I was driving somewhere, if I'm going to Cape Breton, like a 5-hour drive, in the middle, I may get out, grab a coffee, and I'll have Penny on a leash, and I'll walk around the building and let her pee or something like that. But I couldn't imagine just pulling out over the side of the highway and opening the door and letting her run off. But maybe that's different strokes for different folks. But anyway, let's get back into the article. I just wanted to stop at this point because things are about to take a radical change in whatever suspicions there are surrounding this part of her story. It's going to pale in comparison to the revelations that are to come. Let's get back into it.
After being evicted from her government-owned house in Heart's Delight, Islington, Travers thought her run of bad luck was over and that the reward would be hers.
It would give me a place to live. It would. I'd have a vehicle. I wouldn't be stranded the way I am now.
But Travers says she's been treated like a criminal by the RCMP. That's because of her son's criminal past. He's inside this car, would not agree to an interview. But Travers says they had no involvement with the theft and disposal of the statue. In fact, she says her son was in jail at the time of the theft for stealing copper.
My son did steal copper from Leighton Power, but he had nothing to do with this statue. As a matter of fact, the day after the statue was stolen, I was the one that told him in jail that it was stolen. He didn't know a thing about it until I spoke to him about it.
Travers understands why the police would be suspicious, so both her and her son have agreed to take a polygraph test.
I feel upset, really upset, because if it was anybody else, they would have had their money right away. I feel like I'm a crook and I never did nothing wrong.
The RCMP will only say their investigation is ongoing and have not made any arrests. The reward is being coordinated by the town of Harbour Grace, but officials declined comment on the reward when contacted this week by CBC News. Meanwhile, the statue has been fully restored by sculptor Morgan MacDonald. What's less certain is whether this woman will get the reward money.
It's very, very sad. And I feel for my son, and I feel for Heart's Delight. But something's got to come out, and someone's got to say who stole it or whatever. And for me to get the money, I don't know. My nerves are getting the better of me.
Oh man, that is that is an uphill battle for her to get that money. I think at this point, I'm no police officer, but yeah, I definitely see some red flags in that story.
There are red flags. It's interesting because the money, the reward seems to be the only thing that she cares about. So, which adds a bit of a complicated element to the returning of it, because she's not at any point saying, I'm just glad the statue is back, that it's going to be put back up and that it's okay. And it would be nice to get the reward money, but, we'll sort that out later.
But she is in hard times, though. You've heard she's recently been evicted from government housing. So I'm guessing this is someone who has some serious financial hardship. So that $25,000 could change her life. But to play devil's advocate, that could also be motivation to commit crimes like stealing copper.
Or knowing that they had already stolen the copper, decided that the heat was too high at that point in time to sell the copper for that, from that statue. And then, so they stashed it somewhere. Then she, months later, falls on some harder economic times and then is like, I've got an idea. I find, in air quotes, the statue. I collect the reward money, and then that's worth even more than what we would have sold it for.
Yeah. And there's something that is fact is that she does have connections to the people who are in the trade of stealing and selling copper. Like her son, I tried to find more information on his conviction that put him in jail, but it seemed like it was stealing copper from from the power company. So I guess copper wires or something that they would have had stored somewhere, I'm guessing. But it's just unless there's a lot of people stealing scrap metals in that area, it seems like a pretty big coincidence that her son was in jail for the specific crime that she's being suspected of, I guess. And I don't think anyone thinks that she cut up and removed the statue. I think they probably believe that the reason she ended up in the woods that day to discover the statue had nothing to do with her dog randomly needing to pee. I'm guessing that's the investigator's hunch at this point.
Yeah, it all seems to line up a little too oddly, and it's going to be really challenging for her to defend herself in this situation. So,
but I guess she just has to keep going. Like, they're going to give them polygraphs. If her and her son actually do get there and take the polygraph, I'll be very interested to hear if there's any signs of dishonesty on those readings. So we'll see what happens here. But I think the investigators are going to try everything they can, because it's on its surface. More investigation is definitely justified given this story. But one other thing, if she has to come up with a reason as to how she stumbles upon the statue, could she not come up with a better reason than, like, my dog found it? Because that's so unbelievable.
well, how does she explain why she's roaming around those woods and then finds it?
That's true. She doesn't look like a hiker or a hunter.
And I don't think we're not dealing with somebody who's a criminal mastermind here.
If she is a criminal, because maybe this is just a huge coincidence.
No, I think we've called it right here. And
Yeah, you think?
no need for a polygraph. We've got a case shut here. We can let the RCMP know to arrest them.
If it is a coincidence, man, like, how unlucky. Like, what are the chances that the person who randomly finds the statue in this bizarre way has a son who's in jail for copper theft? I think CBC, that was a CBC news piece we listened to. I think they did a great job of keeping all that stuff at the end, because it almost comes across as two separate reports. There's the beginning, and you're kind of on her side, like, this poor lady's trying to get back on her feet. But then it's, then you realize the interview is happening and her car is kind of in the background and her son's in the car and he won't get out of the car to talk to CBC. He just got out of jail for stealing copper. And yeah, the whole thing is crazy. It was interesting that the son was on the scene for this interview but declined to comment. That was a bad look.
Yeah, because they were probably coming from stealing copper. He probably had a bunch of copper in the back seat with him. He's like, I can't be interviewed right now. I'm covered in copper.
Oh, what a wild one. But anyway, that was our a rather Newfoundland-themed dumb Canadian crime story. But it's not the only dumb Canadian crime we're going to talk about. Let's change gears a bit. Let's head over to Calgary. We have another one that's equally, I guess, just eye-rolly. A Calgary family didn't think that getting deliveries from Amazon and getting food from Skip the Dishes on the same day would be a problem. But as this next story proves, it was a very big problem. Here's the story of the Skip the Dishes delivering porch pirate in Calgary.
'Twas the day before Thursday when Susanna Trotchy was informed her package from Amazon was on her porch, safe and warm. But when Trotchy attempted to retrieve her goods, a blank front stoop was all that stood.
My husband said, oh, I wonder what happened to that package. So we went on Amazon and, they take a screenshot of it on the front porch. So we went out and he said, it's not there. I said, well, maybe it flew into the flower bed or something.
It turns out the package was taken before it could reach the person it was intended for. A food delivery, same day, same front stoop is how that package flew the coop.
I said, okay, well, let's check the Ring camera. And it was about an hour later that my son had his Skip delivery. And I see the guy, unzipping his coat, reaching down, grabbing it, stuffing it in his coat, and walking away. I was like in utter shock.
Trotchy says Amazon did everything right. She holds no ill will and will shop with them still. But emails to Skip have proved disappointing. She found the response a little disjointing.
I can show you the email where they just kind of, well, we're not responsible because they're individual contractors. They're not employed by Skip the Dishes. I expected more from them.
Yeah, or some guarantee of what action has been taken.
Exactly, and that's all I asked for. Can you please update me as to respect to this driver?
More than compensation, she wants to see action so that other customers don't experience the same dissatisfaction. In response, the family has canceled all Skip accounts and says that will cost more in the long run than any compensation amount.
I order a lot of skip the dishes, so they're going to be missing me.
So let's address the elephant in the room here.
Okay.
Why is the news reporter rhyming throughout the entire thing like it's the night before Christmas?
There's nothing Christmassy about the story other than the story was broadcast on like the 1st of December.
There's nothing Christmas related at all in the story. And she's just showing off what a poet she is. I'm so clever.
Well, she flopped on the last rhyme of the whole thing. If you listen, as she's telling the story, it's rhyming the whole way through. And just listen to her last little bit.
In response, the family has canceled all skip accounts and says that will cost more in the long run than any compensation amount.
So if she had a pluralized or not pluralized amounts and accounts or amount and account, then it would have made sense.
I heard that, yeah. I'm just still trying to wrap my mind around the motivation of rhyming the entire thing, because she probably added a solid 2 hours to her production time of putting this story together.
Yeah, it was a weird way to present that. But this is a very futuristic 2025 story. 15 years ago, this wouldn't have made a lot of sense because it involves an Amazon delivery being stolen by a skip the dishes driver, the whole thing being captured on a Ring video doorbell. Like, this is a very present day story. And I kind of like that aspect of it, but I'm shocked it happened. What was the skip the dishes driver thinking? And I should say, for anyone who hasn't seen this news clip, he looks right into he walks up onto her step with the food. He looks at the package. He looks straight into the video doorbell's lens. He looks back at the package, looks back at the lens, lays down the food, opens his coat, stuffs the package in it, and just walks away. There's no question in his mind. This guy knows he's being filmed, and he knows he's being tracked because it's a skip the dishes order.
I know. You see these, they call them porch pirates, and you see them and they show up and they've got a hood on and a mask or whatever. They're concealing their identity, at least somewhat, and they jump up onto the porch. Sure, they know there's probably a Ring doorbell camera there, but they figure it's nighttime. They can't see my face. I'm going to grab the package. I'm going to run. So there's very little they're going to be able to do to figure out who I am. This guy, they already know this guy's first name just from his skip the dishes account.
What he's driving, where he works. They have it all.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And he just takes it right there, like as if he's like, oh my God, this is a package. I'm taking this. No one will know.
Yeah, and here's what I don't get about porch pirates is you can't say if the risk is worth the reward because you don't know what's in there. Like sometimes you order, like the other day from Amazon, I ordered a new like a little metal vent that cover that goes on like your floor vents. So one of mine broke, like like the vents that your furnace blows the air through or whatever. One of mine broke, so I bought like this vent thing. I think it cost me $9. It showed up on my doorstep in this big box. So some porch pirate could have risked their job and stole this like, $8 to $10 vent cover that would be worth nothing to anyone other than me because it just so happens that I need one. How does it'd be different if he knew there was, a box of 15, expensive video game consoles or something. But this guy, for all he knows, he's stealing like a woman's shirt or something.
Yeah, it could be anything at all. Could be very valuable. It could be a complete piece of junk. And he's broadcasting himself all over on national television.
Losing his job, costing his employer big because, this is a Skip the Dishes employee is doing this, and Skip the Dishes kind of fumbles their response. Like Amazon did nothing wrong, but Skip the Dishes didn't seem too concerned. They passed it off as he's a private contractor and not an employee of Skip the Dishes, which is maybe that's true, but they need to, just for public relations, need to take this very seriously. It looks bad, and it cost them at least one customer because she ends by saying,
I order a lot of skip the dishes, so they're going to be missing me.
I don't think they'll notice, and don't brag about that either.
Seriously.
I don't go to the grocery store. I I get skip the dishes for every goddamn meal that I eat every day. And they're going to lose out on all that money because you wouldn't believe, you'd vomit if you heard how much I order skip the dishes.
I'm glad I don't get into that. I don't like the food delivery. I think it's a slippery slope. And if I started it, I think I'd go deep into the dark side of ordering Chinese food delivery at all hours of the night to my house. Just one quick story before we take our second and final break. I won't say his name, but I have a friend who he lived like maybe a block away from a pizza shop, and he loved that pizza shop. It was his favorite pizza shop, but he was so lazy, and he always wanted pizza, but he felt bad ordering delivery from his like pizza shop that's like a block away. He didn't want to order from there because it would just look so crappy to get it delivered, a 4-minute walk. So he would order pizza from a pizza shop that was a bit further away that he didn't like as much, just to avoid the embarrassment of getting delivery from a pizza shop that's, less than a 5-minute walk away. That was before the era of skip the dishes. That was when you actually called the business and had it delivered. COVID changed a lot about this world. And one thing it really changed is food delivery. It's such a common thing now.
Yeah, no, I mean, it was always common in the sense of ordering a pizza or ordering Chinese or whatever it was that you were into. But now with skip the dishes, it's like anything, in any restaurant, anywhere, anytime.
Yeah, and you can get, like, I saw ads pop up on my social media recently. It was an ad for like my local dollar store advertising the fact that they are partnered with, like, I don't know, it was Uber Eats or Skip the Dishes or whatever. But you could order like, chips and pop from the dollar store and get it dropped off at your door. But anyway, it's I want nothing to do with all that stuff.
You just stay safe in your home and you just eat the food that you purchase from the grocery store and live a long, happy life. That's what I hope for you.
Well, let's take our second and final break of the night. When we get back, we are going to dig deep into holes, a topic I didn't think we'd ever get into. And I don't want this to turn into a tire thing. I don't want this to turn into a stairs thing. You called out and you said, if you have a really good story involving holes, I'd like to hear it. Let's see where this leads. We'll take a quick break. When we get back, we're going to head to Montreal to hear about a hole. All right, Aaron, let's try out stories related to holes. It just so happens that when we talked about that in the last episode and you said, if anyone knows any good hole stories, let us know. A listener named Chantal had a hole story that was in the news in her community, and she wanted to let us know about it. And I agree with her. It's a good one, and I'm excited to get your take on this. A Montreal woman was biking to work and thought she was about to splash through a harmless puddle. But it turned out she was actually riding straight into a 10-foot deep hole that was filled to the top with water. Here's the story about the Montreal construction hole that tried to eat a cyclist.
Last week at 8 in the morning, Darlene Demchuk was riding her bike to work along this shared lane on Timmins Boulevard in Saint Laurent.
Riding my bike as normal, but through multiple puddles. And there's been a lot of construction on Timmins, but I wasn't aware that I was driving into a puddle that was actually more like a pool.
An uncovered worksite was full of water in the shared bike bus lane. 3 upright pylons block the lane, but going around them would have meant cycling in traffic. So Demchuk went straight, right into a large hole.
The fact that I could just ride my bike into that hole tells me that it wasn't properly secured.
The impact broke her nose and resulted in other injuries. Immediate facial reconstruction surgery was required. Soon after, Demchuk recorded a video as she measured the depth of the pit with a 10-foot pole showing the danger of leaving it uncovered.
That's how deep it is.
Saint Laurent Borough Mayor Alan D'Souza says his team secured the site as soon as they heard about the accident.
Our staff immediately went down, put up a barrier, put up a yellow tape, and as well put a covering to cover the hole to minimize the risk that this could happen to somebody else.
He adds that even though orange cones may be frequent, they're there for a reason.
The cones represent a signal to motorists, to cyclists, to pedestrians that that's an area that's not to be traversed.
Demchuk says a hazard that big should have had a better warning system.
Is it something that I could have avoided? Like, did I do something wrong? You know, I want to take some fault because I could have totally said, well, maybe they're con orange, maybe I should stop.
She says if not for her helmet, her injuries would have been much worse. And she says she's speaking out in hopes that this never happens to anyone else.
That was a bad fall. Again, this happens to us so often. We have to do this a lot. For people who haven't seen this news clip, she's driving her bike down a road, like a busy looking road. There's maybe like 2 or 3 pylons, and it looks like the pylons are kind of blocking off a lane. Maybe if I was driving, I would have just thought that lane was closed, but she's on a bike. So she just drives between the pylons and keeps driving. And the pit that she falls into, just as you hear and as we said in the setup, it's like a 10-foot deep hole that looks about the size of maybe like a car. Like it's, wide and long, about the size of a car, 10 foot deep. But since it had been raining, I guess, the entire thing is filled right to the brim with water. In the news clip, they air surveillance, security camera video of her on her bike just driving, and then she just drops straight down into the hole. But she's going at such a speed that as she's falling, her face hits the other side of the hole, and that's what leads to her breaking her nose and needing reconstructive surgery. She's basically going full speed into just a ripped up piece of concrete.
I know. It's pretty wild to watch it. And I want to state for the record before we go any further that, I feel bad that she got that injured from this, because from a distance, I had seen a clip of this, I think on TikTok or somewhere, and I laughed. I was like, oh my God, that's hilarious.
It does look hilarious, but
yeah, but then you realize
she was banged up.
Her nose was broken. She had to get, reconstructive surgery. It was quite an ordeal. So I do want to state for the record that, nobody wanted her to be hurt for our entertainment or anything to that extent. And we're glad that she's healing and that she's okay. So having said all that, I do believe that the pylons that were up certainly indicated that you shouldn't go past those pylons. You should go around them, use another lane, whatever you can.
Okay. Now, so what we're getting into here is whose fault is this, I think.
Well, let me finish here. I will say that the pylons, the way they were set up, weren't the best. They seemed a little haphazard the way they were set up. There was big spaces in between them, and they could have been a bit more diligent with how they set up the pylons, but certainly several pylons set up to block people from using that part of the road, but she used it anyway. She made a last-minute decision. She saw the pylons, she recognized them, and then she registered in her head that she knew what pylons mean, and then decided, I'm still going through.
Yeah. Okay. So in terms of percentage, what percent at fault do you believe she is? How much of this is her fault?
Yeah, it's a great question. If I were to ballpark it, I would say she's 65% at fault.
Okay. I think you make a good point. Like, there were pylons there. She said herself she recognized them and saw them, drove right past them. The way the pylons were laid out to me would have indicated a risk akin to maybe there's going to be like a pile of gravel or a really bumpy road up ahead. I never would have suspected that is how you would block off or that's how you would warn of the hazard of a 10-foot deep pit. I feel like if I'm walking down the street and there's road work being done, when the crew's done for the day, if there's a big hole, usually there's like big sheets of like metal or wood or something they put over the top of it. And there would be more than just a couple pylons around it. Like, I think when I'm getting into fault here, I'm thinking she's like maybe 25%. And the rest is them for just leaving the job site in that state. And, evidence of that I would make if I was the lawyer representing her in a suit against the city or whatever company did this work is after she fell in, the mayor himself said in that news clip, the first thing they did was went down there, they covered the hole, they put up better signage, and they roped the thing off so that no one else could fall in it. Had they had taken those steps, which I think are reasonable from the very beginning, she wouldn't have that broken face.
Yeah, and certainly hindsight is 2020 here. But I agree with you to the extent that if it were me, I would have put some kind of a sheet over it or something. To indicate that this is a no-go zone. I mean, that's what the pylons are supposed to be doing, but
but it was just a casual setup for the pylons. Like I said, if those pylons, to me, as someone walking past, driving past, or biking past, it looks like it's warning you of the kind of hazard, like, that's going to be really bumpy here. There's going to be a bunch of gravel, or maybe the concrete's wet or something, like something of that nature. A 10-foot deep pit. She's probably lucky that the thing was full of water, although it is very kind of embarrassing and hilarious or whatever to see her falling into all the water. If it wasn't full of water, not only would she have smacked the side of it and busted up her face, but she would have had a pretty good fall as well.
Well, I think if it wasn't full of water, she would have noticed that it was a big hole. She never would have driven over it.
That's a good point.
So I think when they were setting up the pylons, it was probably a slip of the mind where it was a nice sunny day when they were setting up those pylons, and it was an obvious hole. So there was pylons around a hole where they were like, people are going to know it's a hole. So then they just kind of didn't put anything over it. But I agree, they should have put something over it. They should have made it more obvious. I agree. But I still think that and I could be argued that we'll go 50-50 with the blame here. So I think you did chip away at me here in terms of the more responsibility onto them, bringing it from, she was at 65, now I'm putting her at 50. They're sharing responsibility. They both did something wrong. So now I want you to take your 25% and I want you to boost it up to 50.
I don't know if I would, because they both did something wrong. And here's the thing is that the people who do that work, that road work and stuff, I think them making a mistake is a bigger deal than the cyclist making a mistake. I think the people that are working on a road that people are biking on, driving on, walking on, they have a bigger responsibility to the public to not make a mistake. So I think she did make a mistake and she put herself in harm's way, but I think they have a bigger responsibility to even protect people who are making mistakes on those roads.
Okay.
25% her, 75%
hold on, because
I'm
about to hit you with something else here to consider.
Okay.
Before you close the case on your 25%. When you're a cyclist, you are to be following the rules of the road, just as the drivers are, right? The drivers are to treat you the same. So the drivers are not driving through the pylons. The drivers, following the rules of the road, are sticking to the non-pylon lanes. So they're avoiding this, and they're using the pylons as a signal to avoid that part of the road, part of the rules of the road. The cyclists, just because they are thin and can fit into nooks and crannies, doesn't mean that they should be going into those nooks and crannies, because they should be following the same rules that the cars are following.
Yeah.
So I think that justifies your 25% coming up to a 50, where we can all agree that everybody here is an idiot.
Yes, I agree to that. Most I'll do is 30-70 split, 30 her, 70 the city, or the workers, or whoever's responsible for that job site. But I'm not going to do 50-50, so let's not fight about it anymore. If any listeners out there have any opinions on what the fault breakdown should be, send us a voicemail with your justification. Go to thecanadiangothic.com/contact. Send us a voicemail. Let us know what you think the spread of fault should be and why. I'll share this video on my Facebook and Instagram and TikTok for people to see her actually falling in, because I think seeing the visual is important in this story if you're going to get to the point of sending us a voicemail with your fault breakdown. Anyway, let's move away from this story. We have one final story, and it's going to be a story involving a hole, but it's going to have a whole different kind of it's going to have a whole different feel. This is a listener contributed story. It's a listener named Lauren from Cape Breton. She's phoned in several times before, and this is going to be an explicit and slightly suggestive hole story, but it's one we got to hear. Here's Lauren's hole story.
Hey, Jordan and handsome Aaron. It's Lauren calling from Sydney, Nova Scotia. I know Aaron called out for hole stories, and Jordan, you were a little hesitant. I'm going to share this story anyways. Probably won't make it on the show. But maybe it'll give you a chuckle anyway. For the longest time when I was, like in my late teens. So like, I think I discovered my error when I was about 19 or 20. But for the longest time, I thought, this is really embarrassing. I thought that glory hole was a big hole in the ground, or just like a big hole in general. I don't know why, but I just thought it was like a regular old saying that people say when you see a big hole. I don't know where I got that from, potentially a movie, potentially a TV show. I have no idea. But me and my now husband were driving, and we were passing by a mine, and I yelled out, "Look at that huge glory hole." And that's when my now husband politely let me know that that is not what that word means. I'm sure I said that in inappropriate settings on multiple occasions, because I just truthfully didn't realize that that's what it was. And yeah, kind of funny to think about and wonder what was going through people's heads when I yelled out glory hole to big holes.
I could see how it could happen.
Yeah.
That's innocence. You're a good person, Lauren.
Yeah. I mean, ideally, somebody wants to go their entire life not knowing what a glory hole is. What it really
the concept
is.
of it.
Yeah.
For people who don't know, it's an explicit like sex thing. Don't Google it.
Yeah.
Just take our word for it. But what are you asking?
Well, they're often found in bathroom stalls. You'll see a glory hole there.
I don't go to the same kind of bathroom stalls as you, I don't think.
Hold on. I'm not saying I find them in bathroom stalls, but if you're going to find a glory hole, that's where it's going to be. It's not just going to be in your ceiling, or it's not going to be... It's intentionally put into a bathroom stall so that people can enjoy certain things that can be put through there anonymously.
Okay.
I'm behaving in my explanation. I'm not.
Okay. I get it.
Okay. So what I wanted to ask you is, have you ever seen a glory hole in person?
No, never. I can think of several news stories, though. Did we cover it? I don't actually know. I think it was on Encounters with Creeps. Madeline and I talked about this story. I think it was in Montreal. I may get the facts of the case wrong, but I'm going to be close. A guy went online pretending to be a female, and he was advertising a glory hole at this place, and he had this whole thing like, just come up there, come up to the, knock on the door will open, you come in, and the whole thing will happen. But then somebody, I guess, in the middle of the act, like pulled a curtain back or something and saw it wasn't a beautiful woman, it was this guy, and it led to him being charged.
Yeah, I heard that story. And it might have been on Encounters of Creeps where I heard it. But yeah, so I've never come across one in the wild, like just kind of randomly stopping at a gas station or wherever and going into a bathroom stall and seeing a glory hole.
I have seen those notes though, like for a good time, call this number, or for a good time, come here at a certain hour or something. I'd see that in like a stall in like a gas station.
Yeah.
But I don't want to talk about glory holes anymore. I want to say that, Lauren, I'm glad that your now husband politely and comfortably explained to you your mistake. I could see his confusion when you're like, look at that glory hole. And he's like looking at a mine like, what? It reminds me a lot of a story I have about my painfully innocent mother. I had to correct her with something that she messed up. I saw on Facebook, if like your friends comment on other people's things, sometimes it'll show up in your feed. I saw somebody made a post that was talking about a loved one who had just passed away. I think it was like their uncle or something. Like my uncle Jim was a great guy and we lost him today. Sorry to everyone who loved Jim. And then I noticed my mom commented underneath it, LOL. And I immediately called my mom and I'm like, Mom, why did you may have wrote on this wrong post. You got to delete that. And she's like, yeah, I put lots of love. And I said, no, Mom, LOL means laughing out loud. And she told me that she had always thought it was lots of love. So she was using it as lots of love until the time that I saw that and made her go and delete it from the in memorial type Facebook post.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you don't want to be LOLing on people's obituaries.
No. Oh, it's what a world. But anyway, those are two whole stories. Do you think this is a worthwhile pursuit? We've done stairs, we've done tires. Do you think holes have enough legs to carry us?
I do. I think that holes are right up there with stairs and tires. People dig holes, people fall into holes. All types of things happen in holes. So I think,
you know what? I do like the branding. People dig holes.
Yeah.
Because that could be like the catchphrase for our series covering hole stories.
Mm-hmm.
You get like the double meaning there.
They dig them, yeah, as in like they like them, and then they literally dig them too. Yeah.
Yeah. So if we did do a series on holes, it would be called, whatever, holes or hole stories.
Or it could be just Keep Canada Weird digs holes.
But yeah, I like it. Oh, I don't know. If people have a whole story, if there are any more, let us know. But don't feel like, again, we don't want like these half-ass whole stories. If you have a really good one, an entire whole story, that's what we want to hear.
Yeah, justice for holes, I say. Let's bring holes to the limelight where they belong and give them the respect they deserve.
We still have a collection of stair stories that I've been holding off for Stairs Volume 2. That may still happen, but anyway, let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's first get through Christmas. We're looking for some more Christmas special ideas. We heard one at the top of this episode. I'm sure we'll have more ideas in the lead up to this holiday. If anyone out there has any ideas on how we should ring in Christmas, let us know. Go to thecanadiangothic.com/contact and send us a voicemail. But I think our work here is done, Aaron. Is there anything else we got to do? Did we miss anything?
No, we hit all the notes tonight.
Well, in that case, let's put a bow on this. Handsome Aaron Airport, until next time.
Jordan, bus stop, backhoe, Bonaparte, until next time.
I'm excited for whatever shape our Christmas special takes. Did we do one last year? I don't think we did.
I don't remember.
Well, whatever it is, I'm excited to have a Christmas special with you.
And Jordan, until next time, I don't work for Skip the Dishes. I know that's what you feared. But I'll pointlessly rhyme until next time when we keep Canada weird.
How did you put that together?
Just I was noodling on it after that story. I just typed it out so that I wouldn't forget it.
You've been waiting. I want to thank you for helping Aaron and I fulfill our mission to keep Canada weird. Now, if any one of you listening want to get more involved in what we're doing, we need all the correspondence we can get. So if something weird happens in your area, or if you have any thoughts on anything we discussed tonight, let us know about it. The best way to reach us is by using the voice recorder that can be found at thecanadiangothic.com/contact. Now, I'm going to start wrapping up the episode, but before we part, let us thank a few people. First of all, Aaron and I want to give a big thank you to all the correspondents who contributed to this episode. If your voice message was aired on the show, go back to thecanadiangothic.com/contact and fill out the form to claim your swag pack and Keep Canada Weird badge. We'll happily get it right out to you. Next, a big shout out to Unicole for the intro and outro voiceovers, and Monty Data, who provides the outro version of O Canada that you're about to hear. And then lastly, but most importantly, we have a massive thank you to every one of you listening, as without your interest and your support, this work would be impossible. And for any one of you out there who want to support the show financially and get more out of the show at the same time, please consider the premium feed. Our premium feed subscription costs just a couple bucks a month, and that money will fund the creation of new episodes. But the premium feed will also give you those episodes early, give them to you ad-free, and give you access to a full back catalog of Keep Canada Weird episodes and bonuses. You can go premium at thecanadiangothic.com/subscribe. And even if the premium feed isn't for you, you can still support the show by simply sharing episodes on social media. That's free, and it's a big help. So until next time, take care of each other, hug your loved ones tight, and please keep Canada weird.
And keep Canada weird. Please keep Canada weird.